4 leadership behaviors that build trust. We all need more trust. A recent article in The Atlantic suggests that we might be in a trust recession. Well, that's no surprise to you, is it? So building trust in the workplace requires us as leaders to be aware of behaviors that unintentionally diminish trust. So in this office hours today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to define trust, and I'll talk about the unintentional, what I call trust busters, and how to identify behaviors. Maybe it's in yourself, maybe it's in the leaders that you're over, to identify these behaviors that could be limiting effectiveness. Because I believe if you can build a culture where there's trust, there's just nothing that you can't do. And of course, trust starts with you trusting you. That's a whole other topic. I might do something on that in the future. But you're going to learn 4 behaviors that, if practiced consistently, is going to help you either rebuild the trust or increase trust with your employees, your peers, your executives. Then if you'll stay to the end and get a bonus of how to start the journey of repairing relationships. So first of all, I'm going to define trust, and I'm going to try this new little screen, and I'm going to be using this here in a minute. So just hang out and look at that. I'm going to define trust. So how do we know if we trust someone? Well, trust isn't just about liking someone or feeling psychological safety. There's a lot of talk these days about psychological safety. But on the other hand, trust isn't just about competency, our belief that someone can do the job at hand, or if they got a proven track record of accomplishment. It's a combination of both competence and character. So I'm going to enlarge this, and we're going to look at this just for a moment while I talk you through these different quadrants. So the first quadrant, if you'll see, it says number 1, you'll see the plus character minus competence. So that is high character, but low competence. And I'm going to go into depth in these in just a moment. Number 2 is where there's high character and high competence. That's always what you want to create. That's the person you want to work with. That's the physician you want to go to. That's the person who does your heating and air. You want high character, high competence. That's where we always want to be. Number 3 is low character, low competence. We never want that. And then number 4 is high competence and low character. There's a lot of that in workplaces right now. That's a really kind of a scary thing. Someone's a great performer, but they are not good with people, or they're not good with their words. So those are issues that we have to think about when we think about building trust. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to now give examples of each quadrant. I'm going to use this again so that you can see this while I talk. And I'm going to refer to some notes here just so that you get the full benefit of what I've prepared. So if you look at quadrant 1 of high character, low competence, for example, you like your new physician, you feel psychologically safe, they listen, you think they have you think that they have your best interest at heart. But then when surgery is suggested, maybe you don't trust their ability. You don't think they're the best. You think they're the best at analytics. You think they're the best at reading the results. You think they're the best at giving advice, but you decide to look for a specialist. So that's the first quadrant, is really high character, low competence. Let's make this applicable to the workplace. You have someone that you've hired, or someone that's in a position, and they really have character. They want to learn, they want to get better, but their competency is low. You know what? You can train for that. That takes practice, that takes mentoring, that takes coaching, shadowing. So you can train. If someone has high character and they've got the they've got the potential, you can train in quadrant 1. So now let's look at quadrant 2. That's what we want, the high character, the high competence. So let's say your CPA has a track record of excellent work and helping clients save money. You aren't even embarrassed about the mistakes that you've made on your bookkeeping, because your CPA seems totally human and is always honest but kind. That's where we want to be in our leadership. That's the kind of development we want to give to our people. We want people to be honest. You know, I've written a book on Stop Avoiding, Start Leading, From Conflict to Courage. We want honesty, but we want kindness. We want compassion. We want grace. So to develop high character plus high competence, usually most of us have to work on one area more than the other. We might need to improve the ability to keep our word, or we might just need to shore up our skills. That's why I practice on things like I'm doing today. I just want to be more and more and more competent because the world is moving very quickly, and I have to trust me. So that's the mindset where you want high character, high competence. Then if you look at quadrant 3, low character and low competence. So let's say you purchased a piece of equipment 2 years ago from a salesman that you really liked. They were just so charming, so charismatic, and they seemed knowledgeable, but your equipment broke down, let's say the second month, and it kind of put you in a jam. Then they wouldn't return your call. And they justified their poor customer service and blamed their assistant. Now it's time for you to purchase an expensive piece of equipment, but you don't trust their character or their competence. That happens when we're easily charmed or excited by someone, when we hear what we want to hear. An example that comes to me recently is someone stopped by to ask me if I wanted to switch to fiber instead of the regular internet that I have now. And the person just kept trying to compete on there's a deadline and there's price. And I am very leery of when someone's trying to force me into an action based on what they want to have happen. If there's a big rush on something, if I'm being pressured that there's no time left and that I'm going to save all this money, the reality is it shows me a lack of competence because price is not my only consideration. I run a business from a home office. There are lots of things that can go wrong when you change your internet service provider, lots of things that can go down. You can be down for days or weeks even with glitches happening, and yet they kept trying to sell me on the price, and you got to do it now, and time is limited. And so I always look at that. When understanding this trust model, I always look at that as a red flag. It's not that I won't do it, but I always look at both character and competence, and does it fit to my need versus what someone else wants me to do. And then finally, number 4, low character, high competence. This is a problem in many, many, many organizations. There's an executive on the team that's a go-getter. They get things done. They make rain. The only problem is they're viewed as a bully among other team members. The work I'm doing has allowed me to see this type of low character, high competence at every single level, from the frontline performer who is fantastic at what they do with their swiftness, with their ability to get things done, and yet they don't get along with other people. And so there's usually high turnover. I've even seen this very recently in a couple of different areas at the executive level, where the top executive doesn't realize that one layer down, there's a senior level person that is very difficult to get along with, doesn't want to be a babysitter, therefore they won't coach, they won't listen to problems. So they have very low competency in solving problems that have to do with conflict, and yet they're great with numbers, or they're great with customers, but they're terrible with their direct reports. So I want you to just be very aware of this so that you can understand these 4 levels. Now I'm going to talk about the 4 trust busters. So I'm going to talk about the trust busters, and then we're going to talk about the solution to these trust busters, and then we'll stay for the bonus. I want to take a quick moment just to say, if you want to get the learning guide, as you can see, it's at marlenechisholm.com/office hours. We're changing this to where if you sign up once, you'll always get the learning guide. Here's what's helpful for you. When I make a learning guide, you can use these to share with your team. You can watch this, and even though it's got some LinkedIn stuff and some little, asides when I'm talking to people, you can use it in a team meeting with the learning guide to discuss the issue. So it's kind of like meeting in a box, no prep, no plan, no problem. So you can use it that way. I'm going to be doing that for a while. So if you sign up once, you'll get it as long as I do these. I also want to share with you that I am now starting to put little videos on Instagram and TikTok. So if you're on there and you want to see those, please get on there and follow me. And you're also welcome to share today on your own thread. So there we've got that. So let's talk about the 4 trust busters. So trust buster number 1 is emotional mismanagement. This is something I believe is going to be one of the biggest skills moving forward, is managing our emotions, self-regulation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But emotional mismanagement, I believe we're going to see a lot more of it because there's so many unprecedented changes coming our way with AI. We're all in the unknown. We're all talking about whose jobs are going to be eliminated. I honestly don't think management and leadership jobs will be eliminated. I think we'll be viewing leaders differently, more as coaches. I saw this from my colleague Art Petty, wrote an article about it. It was great. I do believe coaching is going to be one of those skills. I think emotional management and our self-regulation, and I also think the ability to shape narrative is going to be the skills that leaders have. It's going to be a whole different skill set than what we have now. But emotional mismanagement. So here's what that is: defensiveness, outbursts. Here's a big one: harsh emails or lack of acknowledged communications. One big mistake that I see when emotions are mismanaged with emails, whenever you're starting on a thread and it's back and forth, and it becomes an argument, that means you're mismanaging your emotions and you're mismanaging the tool of email. Email is for updates, memos, confirming. Whenever it starts to be a thread and an argument and a misunderstanding, that is such an indicator of emotional mismanagement. And everybody wants to use email rather than pick up the phone. I am such an advocate of just picking up the phone. You don't always need to be on Zoom. It's a quick text. Can I give you a call in 15 minutes, in 1 hour? No, call me in 2. Like, that takes 3 seconds to do that. That takes 3 seconds to get on a phone and discuss something, but because we don't know how to manage our emotions, we resort to texting and typing and emailing. So I think emotional mismanagement is one of the trust busters. But if you don't know how it happens or what the signs are, you can't fix it. Number 2 is trust buster is blind sides. I'm going to show you a little chart in a minute with all of these and also the solution, which we'll talk about. Number 2 is blind sides. Calling employees out in front of peers, embarrassing someone by calling them out instead of having a private conversation. And there's ways to actually subtly question someone's behavior. Like, for example, hey, Kim, I noticed that your arms are crossed. Do you disagree? And Kim's going to say, no, I'm just cold. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. It looked to me like you were disagreeing. You can do that, but when you really call someone out because they happen to be talking in a meeting or something like that, it creates a blind side, which is a trust buster. When you change schedules, job descriptions, or responsibilities without warning, that's going to be a blind side. And unfortunately, this happens a lot today with our ever-changing way of working in a hybrid workplace. It really happens a lot in startups and in organizations that don't have all their structures set, and it's happening more even with those that do. It's starting to blur. So we have to create as much structure that we can to help us not have blind sides and yet have fluidity to help us work together. And then firing them when they've only had good evaluations. I see this all the time. Let's say that there's a manager that they know that they're only going to be in this position for 6 more months, and yet it's time to do evaluations, and they know they need to have a conversation with a couple of people that have some performance or behavioral issues, but they say to themselves, and they justify, you know what, why stir the pot? I'm going to be leaving. Someone else will have this headache, and I can go on and not burn any bridges. And then what happens is the new manager that's doing everything by the book gets charged with discrimination or with being unfair because the record says that this performer was good. So I do see this all the time of we're just going to give someone a good score. I see this in government entities a lot where the scoring is once a year, which is ridiculous. There needs to be conversations throughout the year about performance. That creates a trust barrier if you're not communicating what needs to change and you're waiting to catch someone in a trap once a year. I see this system where, well, we go from 1 to 5, and the most anyone can ever score is a 3 because we don't have budget for raises. So even the poor performers get a 2.5 and they stay and they get tenure and they're there for 20 years. So I'm sure I'm stepping on some toes now, and I'm here to do that because it's not working. So when people are good, they need to get acknowledged for that, whether you have bonus money or not. And you need to quit playing with the system as if it's a checklist, because that really creates a lot of blind sides. Number 3 is appeasing, saying, I'll get back to you, and then forgetting. And I talk about that in my book, From Conflict to Courage. Avoiding, appeasing, and aggression are 3 ways we mismanage conflict. And appeasing is a big one because appeasers seem to be really nice, but what they're doing is just hiding the truth, sugarcoating the truth. They're agreeing when they actually disagree, and they're just too nice to ever argue. So they're so they're so incapable of conflict. They have no conflict capacity, which is that emotional mismanagement. Appeasing is emotional mismanagement. You're stuffing it down, you're smiling, everybody likes you, and they don't know why there's so much drama. So appeasing, look for your leaders under you that are appeasers. They get along, everybody likes them, but there's problems underneath. So just look at that. And then misalignment. Not enough enforcing of policies. You've got policy for a reason. If the policy doesn't matter, then get rid of it. And if it does matter, then use it to enforce what you want to enforce. Inconsistent follow through. We never get back with people. We don't let people know we got an email. We don't know that we've decided and voted on something, and employees still think they have a say. That's very inconsistent. It's misalignment because we don't tell the truth about how decisions are made. And I see that a lot in organizations that want to collaborate all the time. There are times when a decision is made by different means, not by collaboration, by people at the top who are doing research, and they do need to listen to every layer for sure, but they need to not misguide people about how decisions are made and why they're made. And I see that the fear of sharing with people why decisions are made, and decisions are made to compensate for the future, not to make someone happy now. I always say there's three positions that we always need to be looking at as leaders. So the head of the organization, whether that's the board or the top executives, they always want to get to the treasure chest on the island. The managers, leaders, want everybody to row harder and faster, and the rowers just want a better seat cushion on the boat. So the point here is that we all see things differently, and as a leader, you have to see all positions and then communicate effectively about why we're making certain decisions that we are. So kind of the quadrants, the trust busters. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about the solution. So I'm going to put it up here in advance so you can follow along. So we're going to talk about emotional mismanagement first. In fact, maybe this will help. I'm going to make this bigger so that you can see it. And this is all on the learning guide if you want the learning guide. So be sure and go sign up for that. So the first one is the emotional mismanagement, what we've talked about. How do you deal with that? You become intentional about your communication. So that's only one part of it for sure. This could be a whole webinar. Become intentional about your communication, and also become aware of when you get distracted by something that feels bad. This is something I'm really working on because I truly believe it's going to be a skill of the future. When tax time comes, you dread talking to your CPA. If a difficult conversation needs to happen, you get sick about it and you get distracted and you let it go and you justify it by saying, well, they've got tenure and they're only going to be here for another year. Just start to notice it and notice the narrative in your head and notice your own communication with other people. When you become more intentional, like for example, one of my intentions is always to improve communication and relationships. So it's a guiding principle that I can look at to say, did that improve communication? And I fail. I do fail. I mess up. So I'm never a sage on the stage. But what I'm saying is that it gives me guidance, inner guidance, versus justifying why I'm doing something or not. I can look back, I can course correct. So that's what I always recommend. For blind sides, basically just stop avoiding those difficult conversations. Normally when we lash out, it's because there's a conversation that needs to happen, but it did not. And so therefore it comes out in sarcasm, as in eye rolling, passive aggressiveness. So just decide that even when something's uncomfortable, you'll have the right intention, the right timing, and you'll be curious to walk through what's happening, not happening. Sometimes just bringing it up changes the behavior. I don't feel like you have to trap someone to say, yes, you did mean to do that. Yes, that was sarcastic. You can basically just say, when you rolled your eyes in the meeting, I thought you really disagreed and you just didn't want to bring it up in person. And they might say, I didn't roll my eyes. Oh, really? I must have perceived that. By the nature of just bringing it up, they become more aware. And that's your goal. Your goal isn't to prove that you're right about something, but to notice observable behaviors. And that's in my book, From Conflict to Courage. I give you the method to have these conversations that are very structured and keeps you on track. And then appeasing. Make your word golden. Make your word golden. Stop saying that you agree with things when you don't. Stop making promises that you can't keep. Stop telling people, I'll get back with you later. Put it on your calendar. Just to me, it's about me trusting me more than I trust everyone else. And I know that if I do what I say I'm going to do, and if I can't, I apologize and try to fix it. If we keep our own word, we build trust to such a deep degree that others don't understand how we do it, but it's really because of self-trust. So make your word golden. If you say you're going to get back with someone, make sure you do. If you can't fulfill that, circle back, tell them something has changed, and follow through, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you decided not to buy a product, even if you decided not to use someone's service that you first said you were going to. I see so many people at very high levels avoiding conversations when they change their mind versus just being honest about it and keeping the relationship alive. And then finally, misalignment. The reason we get misaligned is because we're seeking opportunity without alignment. So opportunity and alignment, that's a whole other discussion. But if I see opportunity and it's also aligned to values, that's a win-win. But if it's only opportunity, then the answer is no. If it's misaligned with values, with mission, with vision, with goals, misalignment causes so much unexpected conflict. So that is pretty much the gist of this program. I'm going to check in one time before I give you the bonus. I'm going to ask you if you're getting value from this. Please share this on your own thread and make a few comments about what you got out of it. You're more than welcome to use this on your lunch and learns with your executive team. You can grab the learning guide at marlenechisholm.com/office hours. You'll get all future learning guides. We're changing that. And so I hope to see you on that list. It's a fun exercise in multitasking, I'll tell you. Okay, so you can have, this is what I know, you can have all the tips, tricks, and techniques in the world, but if you don't have your inner game right, I talk about inner game and from conflict to courage, then there's absolutely nothing going to create trust. You create trust when you see the humanity in other people. That's how you create trust. You look at people as equal in value. We have different roles, we have different status, which makes us unequal in that way, but we as human beings have equal value. And I talk more about the inner game and from conflict to courage, how to stop avoiding and start leading. So here's what you can do. You can check yourself to see if you sometimes make any of these trust buster mistakes. If you see the other person as an obstacle, if you see them as high conflict, difficult to work with, too slow for you, change the narrative in your head about this person because it's going to leak out in your communication. I have to course correct, sometimes with members of my family. I have to course correct when I'm starting to see that person as, oh, they're just hard to work with. I have to change that. No, this is expanding my capacity. Okay. You see the other person as a cog in a wheel. It's only about productivity. It's only about business. Whenever you see it that way, you're not seeing the person as valuable. You've got to see them as valuable. I've got a guest coming up that's written a book about accountability and compassion, Nate. It's going to be awesome. It's the next one we're going to do in July. So you need to come and hear that because he really talks about seeing people as having value. You see them as less important than you. It's so easy to be superior and to start thinking that you're all that in a bag of chips. But the truth is we all have different roles. We're all worthy. We get paid different based on what the company values, but as human beings that can contribute, we're all worthy. And so if you see the role different than you see the value of their humanity, that's definitely going to be a problem. Anyway, I thank you so much for being here today. Again, please share this on your own thread. You're more than welcome to email me if you've got a question. If you're looking at training or speaking for this year or next, Marlene@marlenechisholm.com. And I'd love to hear what kind of value you got from the book. And as you probably know, I have 5 courses on LinkedIn Learning. So if you have a subscription, go look for my name and take those. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time.